one of the things in general that I want to say before we start is this. We all seek to be healthy, and we all want for those around us, those that we love and care for, whether they be our family members, whether they be our friends, or whether they simply be just acquaintances. We want the best for others, and we want all to be healthy. And when we look for solutions and ways to accomplish this goal, using nutrition, using science, using our heartfelt passion for wanting the best with others and partnering with the power of nature can truly provide life-changing results and impact for those looking for health. So on that note, again, I am tremendously excited to begin the presentation on the omega-3 essential fatty acids for NHT Global. On the next slide, we'll find a little bit of information about myself. And I wanted to share with you so you get a feel for who is the speaker today and what is his background. So I am a practicing medical doctor at the University of Minnesota, the Department of Family Medicine. I practice both within the hospital and outside of the hospital, seeing patients. I'm an assistant professor and director of the Inpatient Medical Services, a diplomat of the American Board of Family Medicine, and I as well serve and have participated in scientific and academic studies concentrated in the areas of nutrient delivery systems, antioxidants, and angiogenesis. I have a strong interest in aging systems, and really what we can do to age gracefully and well. In addition, I'm also the innovator of more than 100 wellness products associated with being the Chief Medical and Scientific Officer for an organization that designs and creates and manufactures nutritional wellness products. And in doing so, I get to partner with wonderful companies such as NHT. Over the course of my career, I've been able to see the impact of health and wellness solutions in truly making a difference for individuals and helping to achieve their personal health goals. On the next slide, one of the things that you will see is that I will often do presentations in general in the media here in the United States, talking about general health topics. In essence, I believe that if we educate individuals, if we provide them information about their health, that is the greatest thing that we can do. And so whether it's talking about the latest and greatest innovations, or whether it's talking about simple things we can do in our lives to take action, both are on the continuum of health. And so by speaking on television, I often get the opportunity to address many people all at once versus just one-on-one in the office. I do need to state before we begin that there is no affiliation between the University of Minnesota and NHT as relates to this discussion here today. That's where I practice. On the next slide, one of the things we think about in general for health and wellness, and when it comes to omega-3s, we need to take a step back and realize they are essential elements to good health. And everyone around the globe is interested in wellness. This slide here, this graphic, truly brings to light and to visual demonstration that health is world over. It's something we all seek and that we all can partner on. It's exciting to know that NHT has a global reach, and that by being on the phone today, being on the webinar, that we are all sharing in that global mission of helping taking wellness all the way around the globe and taking with it also the opportunity to live a better life. Next slide. It is important to know and to really take note. There are certain things that are deemed essential to our bodies. And when it comes to looking at the different types of things we put into our bodies, we know fat is one of those things, fat in the diet. And so we are talking today about an essential nutrient, essential fatty acids. And the reason they are called essential is because your body cannot survive without them. They are critical to good health. and they really are essential elements to living a long, robust, productive life with a proper functioning body. But we think about that word elemental because it's very, very basic. You think about the periodic table of elements in chemistry. And so element really means elemental. It is foundational. It is basic. It is critical to life and to good health, as this slide points out. So we're very excited with the new omega-3 essential fatty acid from NHT because it truly represents an essential component to health and wellness, to a health regimen, and they are essential to good health. Next slide, please. As I stated earlier, fats are a part of what we take in the diet. And in fact, every cell in your body has fat within it. They are critical to life. And fats come in different forms, but the most important form in your body really is called a fatty acid because every cell has fatty acids within them, and they're components of the cellular membrane. They are elemental, critical, essential to life. All those words I just said really are to identify and to reinforce the concept that fatty acids and the fat that we take into our bodies is processed in a way that is critical to our life. Here on the screen, we see a single cell in context with others, and the arrow then is pointing to that outer cellular membrane, and that is made up of fatty acids, and that is the pictorial that you see on the screen. Next slide, please. You see, the fatty acids in your body are made up of the type of fats that we ingest. And so when we think about that, more than 95% of the human body's fat is in a form called triglycerides, it's important to note that the triglyceride is composed of different types of things. I know we're getting into a little bit of chemistry here, but just know that there's something called a glycerol molecule, and then there's 3 fatty acids. And as I said before, the triglyceride is made up of this glycerol and those 3 fatty acids, and that's the picture that you see on the far right. The reason we're giving you this chemistry really lesson at this time is this one reason. If you understand where a product is founded and grounded in and how it was created in context of your body and nature, you will understand and be able to apply it and make sense of why this is important in your health. And you should be able to ask any organization who offers you a health solution or product, you need to be able to ask them, what's the scientific foundation for your product? Where is the science? How does it work in my body? How does it partner with the greater world and ecosystem around me? How does it impact not only myself, but the world? And we're going to cover all of those things. But there's a strong, wonderful scientific basis that is founded in multiple studies on the omega-3 essential fatty acid from NHT. And this pictorial here really shows you on a cellular microscopic level where we start this discussion, and that is those fatty acids, those chains in yellow there. And I'm not going to go too much more into the chemistry, but just simply know that this is what the majority of your body, when it comes to fat, is composed of. And that's tremendously important to know. Next slide, please. Now, there are different types of fats when we think about the types that we consume in the diet. One of those types are saturated fats, and an excessive intake of these leads to different types of health challenges. For example, cardiovascular disease. This is why your doctor says you should decrease, in general, the amount of red meat or animal fat and dairy products that you take in. It's not that you can't consume them, but we need to take them in a moderate amount because saturated fatty acids in excess can contribute to, for example, cardiovascular disease and other health issues. And saturated fatty acids can be found in animals and plants across the board. Not many people think we simply find saturated fatty acids in animal products, but we also find them in plants. And so we need to think about the type of oil and from where, and not just because it comes from a plant. There is a fallacy that if something comes from a plant, it means it's automatically healthy. That is not true. We need to make sure we look at what is coming from the plant and what we are putting into our bodies. So saturated fatty acids are found in the diet, and we need to take in a moderate intake. In moderate intake and in balance, they can support health. So next slide, please. Another type of fat in the diet is called trans fatty acids, and these are scary. These are the bad guys and girls. These act like terrorists in your body. They get into the body and they wreak havoc. They're artificial fats. They're hydrogenated oils, for example. Hydrogenated means they've added on different components on the hydrogen in their molecular structure. When you look at the structure here on your screen, what happens is we wind up with that double line in there, and that's called a double bond. And what happens is it twists and it contorts the fat in a way that becomes very unhealthy for the body. And in fact, it causes them, because of their chemical structure, to have very unique properties. One of the properties is that they tend to get stuck in the body. They tend to have properties in terms of solidifying around room temperature, temperatures in the body. And so we need to be cautious about what types of trans fats that we take into our body. Again, these are very unhealthy. They often appear in processed foods, and in fact, in the United States, and I'm sure, I'm not aware of the exact regulation in Europe, but in the United States, they're outlawing the use of these trans fats. And they absolutely increase the risk of heart disease and certain types of cancer. On the slide here, we have maybe the cause of increase of heart disease and cancer, and that's something you should take to heart, regardless of what you do after this webinar and where life takes you. Know one thing and take one piece of wonderful education away, and that is this, that trans fats have no place in your diet and no place in your health regimen. Stay away from them. Next slide, please. Well, now we're getting into some happy and healthy fats, and these are called monosaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are beneficial to the cardiovascular system and to the body in many, many regards. We find these, for example, found in certain types of nuts and fish like salmon. We can find them in flax, for example, and say, for example, avocados. So there are different types of healthy fats in the diet. And that is one thing I want you to take away from this slide. And that is, there are absolutely wonderful and beneficial fats in the diet, and those are the monosaturated and especially those polyunsaturated fatty acids. We call them PUFAs for short, or an acronym, and that's where the omega-3 family falls in. So next slide. What's unique about the omega-3 essential fatty acids is that they are not made by your body. They must be obtained through food, through diet. They have to be ingested. Just like your body doesn't automatically have exercise happen, you have to go out and make an active choice in your diet and in your lifestyle to include omega-3s. Just like you need to make an active choice to include exercise. So when we take a step back and we think about what we want to achieve in our lives when it comes to our health and wellness, we have to ask ourselves, do we want to beat the average? Because we know what average looks like. In fact, that's where we get all of our statistics in medicine and equations on outcomes and disease states and what will happen under certain conditions. So I would encourage you on the line today, and if you're listening later, to do something to beat the average. And one of those things that you can do is to make the active choice to incorporate essential fatty acids high in the omega-3s into your diet. We know from research and from science they can have a tremendous impact on your health. We know they are essential components of cell membranes. and they can be converted into many important regulatory substances in your body. Substances that help control or balance inflammation, substances that participate in immune function in your body. And we know that the omega-3 essential fatty acids maintain the normal physiology and cell function, the fluidity of the cell membrane. In fact, there are many, many folks in Hollywood and the United States who focus on the use of omega-3s as a part of their beauty regimen because of its role in helping maintain normal physiology and health of cells of the body. So the takeaway from this slide is that the omega-3 essential fatty acids are not made by your body, and they must be obtained through ingestion or through food or supplementation, and that we have to make the active choice to incorporate them into our diets. It simply will not happen by chance. Next slide, please. I mentioned that the omega-3 essential fatty acids play a critical role in the activities of your body. They simply don't function in terms of keeping cellular membranes healthy. They function as major cofactors, major contributors, major regulators of major biologic activities in your body. In essence, at the end of the day, they help your body to function normally. I teach on certain things called the eicosanoid pathways, or thromboxanes, or leukotrienes, or different, there's the whole arachidonic acid pathway in the body, and it's way too much chemistry and science to go into on this call. But no, the omega-3s participate in that in a major way. And here is a list of some different types of really hormone-type substances in your body called eicosanoids, where that they are synthesized at different types of cells. You see we have in organs like your kidney, your spleen, your heart. We have as well in platelets, your immune cells. There are different cells associated with allergy like your mast cells. And then we have their major biologic activities in the body. And that relates to really, for example, the platelets, how they flow in the body. Are they fluid? We talk about the immune function themselves. We talk about overall inflammatory states. We talk about the ability to have the blood vessels clamp down or open up, or even your airways to clamp down or open up, what we call constriction or dilation. So they play a major role in your body in many, many areas. And this graphic here highlights that. On the next slide, we see that pathway that I talked about, that arachidonic acid pathway. And what I want you to remember from this slide is where, highlighted at the very top, it says membrane phospholipids. A lipid is a fat. And remember in the very beginning when we had that picture of the cell, the membrane is made up of fats, those fatty acids. And this is one of the key regulatory pathways in the body associated with pain, with discomfort, and it's actually a way that many major pharmaceuticals interact on this. But what's interesting and wonderful is you don't have to take a pharmaceutical to impact and help your body to focus on the healthy side of this equation. And that's what the omega-3s do, support the healthy and normal function of your body. But it all starts with what are the fats in those membranes, or those membrane phospholipids at the top of that chart there. And what's interesting, and you'll see that first line on the top says trauma. So when the cellular membranes have trauma, whether that be through directly, and that could be through physical force, or through stress, other types of trauma is a general term, when those membranes are damaged, they release the fats. They release the fats into the body that then drive these pathways. And so, again, the type that we start with makes a big difference. On the next slide, we're going to start to talk about the direct benefits and areas of impact of the omega-3 essential fatty acids. So we had our chemistry lesson up to this point. Now we're getting really down to the nuts and bolts of, well, now I understand how it starts and why it's important and how it works on the cellular level. But now let's talk about some different areas of impact that we can find. This is a very nice pictorial that really goes over all the different areas in the body where the omega-3 essential fatty acids play a major role. We see at the very top of the brain My goodness, the omega-3s and the studies there supporting the use of omega-3 essential fatty acids, and specifically the EPA and in particular the DHA, especially for the development of the young and for individuals who are older who may be having challenges with neurologic function. Some really wonderful studies coming and have been published. We think as well about the skin and the integrity of the skin, anti-inflammatory aspects. That was the point of all the previous slides in many regards, was talking about their ability to influence inflammatory states of the body in a positive way. Metabolism, if you don't have a healthy fat metabolism, it can be an issue, and it can lead to weight gain. So that by having a healthy omega-3 fatty acid metabolism and in general fat metabolism in general, it can help support a healthy weight. Our next slide talks about the immune system. We know that the omega-3s are critical to helping proper signaling. The next slide talks about joints. Excuse me, the next picture talks about joints. We have some nice pictures here on this slide here. But when we think about the joint pain and joint discomfort, I can't stress enough the role that the omega-3s play in supporting healthy joints. I recommend to everyone, including myself, who has some joint issues, whether it be from playing sports or otherwise, to use the omega-3s for not only for supporting a healthy inflammatory state, but also for lubrication, for strength and integrity of the joint. They are really wonderful. Again, we touched on a healthy weight. These next two go together, the circulation and the cardiovascular system. Ladies and gentlemen, the impact of omega-3s on the cardiovascular system and on heart health is without question a major area of research and a really undisputed positive benefit of the essential fatty acids, both for healthy triglycerides and for an overall cardiac health. Anyone who is focused on their heart needs to take omega-3 essential fatty acids. And finally, we have vision. Vision supporting the health of the eye, the pressure within the eye, and those also struggling with dry eyes. Next slide, please. When we look at the next slide, and when we talk about the idea of the impact that different areas of our health has on our quality of life. And I think the biggest thing I want to share when we think about the omega-3 essential fatty acids and the pictures that are right now on your screen is that every single picture impacts our life in a major way. It's difficult to be a good worker. It's difficult to focus at work or be a good parent if you have difficulty with your energy. If you have difficulty, for example, with your skin and there are problems there, we can become self-conscious. When we think about regularity, when we think about mental health, there's a picture there of individuals who struggle with depression. There are a lot of studies looking at the omega-3s and their impact on overall mental health. A picture of an individual next we see of coming down a stairwell. You can imagine how difficult it is if you have pain and how difficult it is to function on a daily basis. As well, we think about concentration in children. We think about concentration in adults. There are wonderful studies looking at the omega-3 essential fatty acids and its role in neurologic development, its role truly in helping individuals and specifically children who may have behavioral issues or challenges, and its positive impact in the classroom. On the next slide, we are talking about the United States FDA. And the FDA stands for the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA has approved that the consumption of the specific omega-3s of EPA and DHA omega-3 fatty acids may reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. Again, I'm going to read that. The FDA has approved that consumption of EPA and DHA omega-3 fatty acids may reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. This is a major area of focus for the omega-3 essential fatty acids and a major reason that individuals take omega-3 products. We all are concerned about our heart health. We all are concerned about the heart health of those we love and care about. And so if there's a simple and easy intervention that can make a difference, we should seek to do that. Just as the American Heart Association recommends daily exercise for individuals, they also recommend daily omega-3 intake. So on the next slide, speaking of the American heart, we know there are specific areas where there's additional research. We know that omega-3s have shown promise in the area of arrhythmias or abnormal heartbeats. We know they have shown wonderful impact in decreasing triglyceride levels. We know that omega-3s can help support a healthy blood pressure. And we know that omega-3s can help regulate or help promote an internal health within the blood vessels. We know that blood vessels are where that we develop atherosclerotic plaques. And so anything we can do to help promote and support the health of support the health of the inside of the blood vessel, it's critically important. Next slide, please. Overall, the omega-3 essential fatty acids play a tremendous role in cardiovascular health, but they also touch multiple areas of the body as well. New research has shown that the use of EPA and DHA can combat certain neurologic challenges, such as Alzheimer's disease. In the Journal of Alzheimer's and Dementia, there was a study that supplementation with omega-3 fatty acids could help prevent and even reverse the progression of Alzheimer's disease by stimulating newly identified resolution pathways. Of course, this was early. Of course, this is preliminary research. But at the end of the day, we need to note the research. We need to be mindful of it. And we need to make sure that we are really looking at these things and making sure that we are taking into account the choices we can make on a daily basis. It's important to note that the omega-3 essential fatty acid from NHT does not treat, reduce, or cure any disease, but that it does have wonderful substances that can impact health in a positive way. Next slide, please. When we look at omega-3s, in general, there are different types of components. There are most valuable players. Omega-3 is a broad family. And there are, just like a football or a soccer team has different players, there are different players within the omega-3 family. One of those being EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid. EPA is a key and a valuable player within that omega-3 family, and in fact, where a large number of omega-3 studies are present. EPA supports the health of platelets in the body. It really helps the fluidity of these in terms of the platelet cell wall. We know that the omega-3s support overall function of the heart and overall function of the flow of blood through the body. And we know when EPA is in appropriate balance in the body that it can support neurologic, cardiovascular, and multiple other areas of health in the body. On the flip side of that, when we have sticky blood, we know that a heart attack can occur. When we have sticky blood, we know that a stroke can occur. Again, the omega-3 essential fatty acid from NHT doesn't treat, reduce, or cure any disease, but what it does is promote a healthy and normal balance and function of the body. Next slide, please. DHA, or docosahexaenoic acid, really is a key component as well of omega-3s. It's another most valuable player. It's also known as gold for the brain. We know that it's found in high concentrations in different areas at different times in our life. It can be up to 20% of the fat content of the cerebral cortex, and in the retina up to 50% at different types of development. We know that it is crucial and critical to fetal and infant mental and visual development, and we're finding many children's formulas that are supplemented with DHA. Next slide, please. And in fact, in 1999, there was United States research institutions that performed a 4-month DHA feeding experiment on infants. And what they found is that the infants being fed DHA had higher IQs as compared to those in the control group. Now, it should be important to note that the baby formula manufacturers in the United States, many of them in their higher baby formulas are adding DHA now to help supplement children's diets, and we are finding the use of DHA in children's products. Next slide, please. So the next question comes down to how much should we be consuming, and what is the recommended daily intake? So this gets really at one of the core questions when individuals take products or otherwise of saying, how much should I take? When should I take it? And so this recommendation that's come out in general from the American Heart Association, that's when it comes to omega-3s, in general, we recommend that individuals, if they're concerned about cardiovascular health and they're not taking much fish in their diet, that they be taking approximately 1 gram per day or 1,000 milligrams of omega-3s, EPA, and DHA daily. Now that's the equivalent of taking about 2 large servings of fish per week, and that really is the baseline level for health. So I want to stress that. That's the baseline or starting point for individuals. Individuals who are more concerned about their health or who may be struggling with other areas of imbalance in their life, like triglycerides, they can work with their doctors and putting together a health regimen where their intake is higher of omega-3 essential fatty acids, usually in that 2,000 to 4,000 milligram, that 2 to 4 gram dosing per day. Next slide, please. It's interesting to note that certain laboratory tests are now able to look at what we call the omega-3 index. This is a special test which identifies the level of omega-3s that have been incorporated into the red blood cell membrane. Higher levels correlate with better health outcomes in studies. And we found benefit to higher levels when it comes specifically to cardiovascular health. But literally, we're able to measure the number and amount of EPA, DHA in comparison then to the total amount of fatty acids. So very, very exciting, and an up-and-coming test that they're doing on blood. Next slide, please. The best source of omega-3 fish, without question. The title of this slide really says it all, and that is when we think about omega-3s, there are different places to get it, but the best source is from fish. Omega-3s that come from marine or fish sources are high in DHA and EPA. The vast majority of vegetable sources of omega-3s contain very low to no levels of EPA or DHA. Remember, these are the most active players, the most valuable members of that omega-3 team. Next slide, please. There are various studies that have looked at different individuals around the world who eat high content of fish in their diet. A great example would be the Eskimos and the Japanese. They eat numerous servings of fish on a daily basis, taking in lots of omega-3s, and consequently their overall cholesterol levels and their overall levels of cardiovascular disease are lower than when compared to people from other regions of the world. And that is why we have gone through all these studies on the scientific side of things and are focusing on the impact of omega-3s on health and wellness, and specifically as it relates to cardiovascular disease. Here's a nice pictorial that talks about the amount of omega-3 levels in fish for approximately 85 grams. What's interesting, though, is that you have to eat a lot of fish, 85 grams, to get these amounts of omega-3s, which are listed in milligrams. So again, 85 grams would be 85,000 milligrams. So you have to eat a lot of fish to get the levels that are listed here on the slide. Next, please. There have been some very interesting studies that have been done that are looking at the sourcing of omega-3s as compared to whether we get them from plants or fish and their impact on human health. So there was a research study that looked at over 6,000 middle-aged American men, and really it showed that when eating about 28 grams of perch or 84 grams of mackerel daily, that they had a 36% chance of dying from heart disease decrease. So they decreased their risk. They looked at some other individuals in this cohort or in this study, and they were saying that in individuals who consumed at least 2 servings of 140-gram fish rich in lipids per week, these folks had a 33% decrease in their risk of overall heart attack. So we talk about risk ratios, odds ratios, all these different things in statistics to really give us insight into what can we do. What can we do to decrease our overall risk? And the diet heavy in omega-3s is shown to be beneficial. Next slide, please. One of the things to note is that when we think about omega-3s that may be used in other areas or other types of fatty acids, that fats can become unstable. They can be oxidized by heat and by light. They can be lost from boiling and roasting, and they can be lost from frying, and they can even be damaged. So it's important to note that someone may say, well, geez, it says on this product that it contains this amount of either EPA, DHA, or fat, or this is where it started. It's important to know that omega-3s and just fats in general can be unstable. And so therefore, it's very important in formulation and otherwise, and when note that we need to take and be mindful of the environment in which we are storing the products, in which are we cooking. Are we cooking with these oils and heating them up, to over 200 degrees? Are we frying with them? That we will naturally change their characteristics. And so that's important because when we think about the omega-3 used in the NHT Global product, extreme caution has been taken to ensure the very, very high integrity and that protection has occurred of those healthy fatty acids. Next line, please. When we think about trying to get our omega-3s from the diet, which we can get from fish, we have to be mindful of certain problems. And specifically, we need to be mindful of pollution. Pollution is a big issue. Pollution of not only heavy metals, but also pesticides and herbicides and other things that unfortunately get dumped and put into the water of the earth. One of the things to know here in looking at this that is very, very important is to know that products in general need to be tested for heavy metals, specifically one of those being mercury. Mercury, when we think about its impact on human health, it is a heavy metal that can dramatically impact neurologic and nervous system function. And you'll see here the most consumed fish and shellfish in the United States and the average mercury levels based on parts per million. So it is definitely present within, and that's why I actually say, for example, swordfish. There are recommendations out that no pregnant woman should ever eat swordfish while being pregnant because of the concern for heavy metals. Next slide, please. Well, this brings us really to looking at the omega-3 supplement. So if there are concerns, if someone says, I don't like fish, I don't eat very much of it. If someone says, I'm concerned about the environmental contaminants and I don't see myself eating fish every single day, and there are concerns about eating larger fish as it relates to heavy metal or pesticide and herbicide, that's where supplementation comes in as a way to fill in the nutritional gap. And there's really 3 primary areas we talk about, and that is purity, which equals safety, taste, which is critically important, and then potency. We need to have all 3 to truly achieve a wonderful and superior product within the health and wellness area. And I'm so very excited that with the NHT Omega-3 that we have a wonderful formulary that really addresses all 3. Next slide, please. Remember earlier when I talked about the importance of EPA and DHA. These 2 essential fatty acids are critical. They are the most valuable players. And so when you evaluate an omega-3 product, you need to go directly to the label and say, how much EPA and DHA am I getting per serving? And you should be getting 1,000 milligrams per serving of EPA and DHA omega-3s. So 2 soft gels are the serving size for the NHT omega-3, and with 2 small soft gels, you're able to achieve that 1,000 milligram mark. Other products literally can be anywhere from 10 to 20 times that amount needed. There's one product we compared where it would take 2 of the NHT omega-3 global, and it would have taken approximately 20, I think it was 19 soft gels to equal what was within the omega-3 NHT product, because they had 1,000 milligrams of fish oil, but they had so very, very little EPA and DHA. And remember, at the end of the day in formulation and manufacturing, we need to wonder, what are those other oils in the product? What are those other things within the soft gel? Are they healthy? And that's where the NHT omega-3 has strong attention to formulary. My son, my daughter, my friends and family all take this omega-3. It has prescription potency, and I just want to comment on that. It is very, very important that when we are sharing health and wellness innovations with those around us, that we are really sharing something that meets the scientific rigor and evidence and meets scientific body recommendations. 2 soft gels are all that's needed to achieve the FDA's recommendation for supporting cardiovascular health. So again, look for EPA and DHA at 1,000 milligrams. This particular formulary here, we show the supplement facts of 600, 400, and other omega-3s at 50 for a nice blend. But again, 1,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA. Next slide, please. I mentioned on a previous slide that omega-3 oils, and any oil for that matter, can degrade. It can become unstable. And so therefore, the manufacturing process needs to account and put in place specialized techniques to ensure maximum oil integrity. We use specialized techniques in our manufacturing and at different steps along the way with our partners in the oil and where it comes from the sea and the fisheries, to ensure that we have strong integrity of the oil. We use a proprietary antioxidant blend of rosemary, ascorbyl palmitate, and natural tocopherol, so that's vitamin C and vitamin E, to ensure protection of the oils from oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is how something rusts. It's how something degrades. And when that happens to oils, they become unhealthy. And so buying just any omega-3 or having a physician say, well, any omega-3 is the same as the next, is simply not true. In fact, taking the wrong omega-3s or from an organization which doesn't pay attention to appropriate manufacturing techniques can be very, very concerning. Next slide, please. Along with the potency comes purity. And purity comes with making sure that when we're formulating our products, we're looking to the area on Earth the fish come from. What about the type of fish, the size of the fish? Is it fully refined? We use small-sized fish source. Why is this important? Smaller fish don't live as long. Therefore, they have less of a chance of bioaccumulation. They also typically don't eat other fish. And so therefore, there's less chance, again, of taking in contaminants. And so we are very selective in the type of fish that are used in the formulary, having it fully refined, and we'll go into what that means for again. And then it's tested for more than 240 potential contaminants, pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals. Next slide, please. The potency and the purity are tied to what we call GMP, and that is good manufacturing practices. And this really gives us consistent quality, and this is something that the FDA regulates, goes into, and reviews. If this product is made in the USA, and again, it is pharmaceutical grade ingredients, high purity, high potency. And that just means it's safe. Products need first and foremost to be safe. And when you do all those things, on our next slide we'll get to one of the most important things, and that is taste. So when we do all those things right in terms of production, and having the purity, having the potency, it's then very fun to have a great tasting product. The next slide demonstrates and highlights that the taste is a major focus for this product. It has an exceptional citrus flavor, no fishy repeat, and there's no sugar added. It's chewable and it's great for kids. My own kids chew this product. So it really is a wonderful, wonderful flavor, and we're excited for you to try it and use it. It is the number one reason why people don't take fish oil. That number one reason is for a fishy repeat, for a fishy taste. And so we're so very, very excited and worked a very, very long time to ensure that the taste on the product and the repeat of the product, in essence, that people don't belch fish, it is very, very important. And we're very, very pleased. We've all had or been exposed to those fish products when you open up the jar or you open up the product and you're like, oh my goodness, this smells like it just came out of the ocean or the river. And that is not what we want individuals to say, and certainly is not the experience here. We're very excited and very proud of the formulary and the personal experience that individuals are able to have. Next slide, please. One of the things that is tremendously important to all of us on the line, I'm sure, and to individuals who manufacture, create, and participate in global supply chain when it comes to nutritional wellness products, it's important for us to make sure that we are responsibly sourcing our materials, making sure that the impact we have on the environment is not a negative one. In fact, that it's positive and sustainable and gives back. And I know that by being a member of NHT and the NHT community, that the environment is important to you, that being responsible for the earth is a core value at NHT and something that we all need to take to heart. If we don't care for the planet, there won't be a planet for our children. And so we're very, very happy to report that the NHT Omega-3 product meets the strict certification standards of Friends of the Sea. Friends of the Sea is an organization which is dedicated to the conservation of marine habitats. And the fish oil used in the NHT Omega-3 product comes from fisheries and hatcheries, and the whole process along the way is sustainable. And that certification is present. So we're very, very excited about that. And it really differentiates this product from others. I mean, without question, this is something that individuals should truly be proud of, and it is a further demonstration of the superiority of the product and of the organization of NHT in general, and their commitment to the global community and to the environment and really to the future. So we're so very, very excited about that. Next slide. So in brief review, we've touched on a lot of areas that omega-3s can impact. Again, the omega-3 essential fatty acid from NHT doesn't treat, reduce, or cure disease, but it does promote the healthy and normal function of all the areas listed here: cardiovascular health, neurologic or brain function, healthy vision, supporting overall pressure within the eyes, healthy joints, promoting healthy fat metabolism, and helping to keep the skin and beauty of the body present by having rejuvenated and flexible skin that's resilient. So really, really fun areas that the product touches. Next slide, please. So one of the things that people often ask is, well, how much do I take? Well, on a daily basis, for the general recommendation, is 2 soft gels per day. That will give you the 1,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA per serving. Preferably take these 10 minutes before a meal and don't exceed 8 soft gels per day. When it comes to children 4 and older, we recommend 1 soft gel daily. As noted earlier in the presentation, individuals who have specific health challenges, say for example those struggling with joint challenges, those focusing on healthy triglyceride levels, those focusing on neurologic challenges, we would suggest that they take 4 to 6 per day of the soft gels, and that would be a 2 to 3 gram serving. Again, working with your healthcare provider, using your dietary supplements, and using other innovations that you have. Again, we encourage individuals to work with their healthcare providers in showing and using their health products in a coordinated fashion with their health provider to give the best results. So next slide, please. I touched earlier on in the presentation that omega-3s, under stress and strain, that they can be transformed, or they can be stressed and lose some of their potency or their health benefits. And that is why, when formulated, we created that proprietary antioxidant blend to help stabilize the oils. But what's nice is that omega-3 essential fatty acids, when taken in conjunction with a diet high in antioxidants, it can help further support that synergy. We know that in the NHT product line, there are wonderful antioxidants and many products that can help to protect the essential fatty acids so they don't oxidize under stress. And so you can take both to achieve maximum health benefits, and truly represents a nice synergy amongst the product. Next slide, please. This truly brings our presentation to an end. I appreciate everyone staying with us and walking through the background of the omega-3s, the science, the benefits to the body, the different areas, what sets the NHT omega-3 essential fatty acid product apart, and then going over daily use strategies. Truly, the NHT essential fatty acid omega-3 product stands alone as one of truly the world's best omega-3 products. And I want to say that again. It truly stands as one of the world's best omega-3 products. And individuals can be proud of the formulary, of the responsible aspect of its partnership with nature, coming from sustainable sources with Friends of the Sea, and its overall impact on health and wellness, and its solid grounding in clinical and scientific evidence for a strong formulary. So on that note, the call officially in presentation comes to an end, but I know that there were potentially some questions from some attendees. So I'll turn it back over to our host, and just let me say again what an honor and a privilege it has been to be with you for this presentation on the NHT Global Omega-3 Essential Fatty Acid product.
Thanks, Dr. Beckler. Thank you very much for this great, detailed, and helpful product training. Now, as you told, you are open for a brief question and answer session. So if you have any questions, you can write them here or send to support.
Well, wonderful. I think that would be an outstanding thing for individuals to do. I look forward to answering these questions and being responsive. One of the things to know is that there's lots of research on the omega-3s, and there's lots being said about the omega-3s, so they truly are an area that is hot in both media and in scientific research and in the popular press. So it usually is a topic where individuals do have some questions, and we are eager to answer.
I don't see questions so far.
Okay.
Okay, the presentation was detailed, maybe enough.
So we answered all the questions. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, I think one thing that I will just point out from a personal use is that.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think one of the things to point out, and I'll just go back, is that I've had individuals come back and say how pleasantly surprised they are just on the taste and the impact that there are some other concentrated omega-3s in the marketplace but that have just a tremendously fishy smell and odor, and that the individual literally was being there was high concern from their spouse. I'll just leave it at that. That they were starting to smell like fish because they were taking so much of this fish oil, and so they were so very happy and excited and using the NHT omega-3 products. So so as you know, this product is around the world already, and we're excited to have it coming to Europe.
Yeah. I have a question from a distributor. How fast people can see results in improving in some of the areas?
That's a great question. So in repeating back, the question was, how quickly can an individual see results for the omega-3 product? And I would say that answer is based on two aspects. One is the dosage that they use, and then also the duration of time that they use it for. Typically, I encourage individuals to go on a 90-day program before evaluating, do I feel different? Do I see something different? Is something different in my life? And we also need, there's a third portion to that, and that is, why are they taking the product? And so when we think about, say, for example, individuals focusing on healthy triglyceride levels, an individual taking 2 to 3 grams, and say, let's just say, you know, if they were taking 5 soft gels per day, we would then recommend, if they went back and working with their doctor, if they went back and they had their blood test 90 days later, to evaluate at 3 months after that initial trial at that 2.5 or 2 to 3 gram dosing, and have a repeat blood test done. So really say a 90-day program. Individuals who are focusing on joint health and looking for comfort, individuals there, we typically see things a little bit sooner, and you know, on that 30 to 60 day mark. You know, I'm one that's more conservative. Sometimes people will say, geez, it's been 2 weeks and I'm seeing things change already in my life. But I like to be more on the conservative side of really, because what we need to do actually is to build the omega-3 level in our body to a certain degree before we see that impact. And so it really is something, if you remember, we need to get it incorporated into the membranes. We need to build the level in our body. And so therefore, sometimes I'll recommend to individuals that they start on an accelerated dose of saying, we'll take 4 per day for the first 60 days, then go down to 2 per day as your maintenance. So it really depends upon what your health goal is and why you're taking the product. In general, maintenance, again, from a preventive standpoint, I've had individuals who are literally taking this as a replacement for eating fish in their diet. And they're saying, I don't eat fish. And so I need to find the omega-3, EPA, DHA, because I know it's important for me. And so for those individuals who may already be healthy, they often will say, well, geez, I've noticed, you know, that I think my skin's more resilient. I feel like I have more energy. I feel I have a natural glow and energy. Part of it comes down to when we nourish our body with the basics of those essential and critical nutrients, we simply feel better. So we have individuals who are taking it overall from an overall prevention standpoint as a part of a general health and wellness program, and they have general attributes of increased energy, of just the benefits of being well nourished. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have individuals who are taking it for a specific health reason, and usually that's a higher dosage, and we really request give it a 90-day trial before you give your full evaluation. Work with your doctor. What's exciting about this product here, I would encourage every single person who takes this product to take it to their doctor. Show the label to their doctor. They will be well pleased and surprised when the doctor looks at it and says, wow, this is a really great omega-3 product. This is wonderful. It's high content EPA, DHA, 1,000 milligrams per serving there. Wow, this is wonderful. And then they can help guide you further on the dosing. But I guarantee they will be well pleased with the formula and with the product itself, which unfortunately is not something we can say about all the products in the nutritional marketplace. Truly, and again, I will say it, the NHT Omega-3 Global is one of the best omega-3 products in the world. And with that, I think we are at our time for the webinar. But again, if you have more questions, send them in to NHT Global. We'll be happy to answer them. And we look forward to our next training session together.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. One is, what is different between this product and other products which offer the right amount of DHA EPA? Because a distributor is inquiring, there are many good omega-3 products using mackerel. Is there any way to see what
Sure.
fish is used?
Sure. So a couple different things. So one thing we need to look at is not simply just the EPA and DHA concentration. So some people, so this distributor sounds like they are well informed. Some people are simply starting out and learning about the omega-3s in terms of differentiation. So number one would be the size of the soft gel itself. So sometimes we will have exceptionally large soft gels that have EPA and DHA and lots of filler oil. So number one, the size of the soft gel for the NHT Global is a smaller size soft gel in the marketplace, which makes it easier to swallow, makes it much easier from a compliance standpoint for individuals to take and use the product for the long term, especially when we go to other areas of the world or specifically in individuals who may be of smaller stature. I know that my mother likes the size of the soft gel as compared, previously before this product was available, that the size of soft gels that are in the marketplace are not, sometimes they can be very big. So number one is the size of the soft gel. Number two would be the lack of other additional oils, that it's concentrated. A third area of difference, again, we would question whether or not these other products are Friend of the Sea certified. Are they coming from sustainable sources? Do they have certification and proof of that? Again, if a product is great but it destroys the environment, that isn't sustainable. And we shouldn't participate in those types of business activities. And so that would be one thing as well from a social and cultural value perspective. The other thing, there are other omega-3s that are tested for heavy metals and pesticides and herbicides. Clearly, the purity of the product is one of those things that makes the product stand apart. And I'm assuming that the product they're talking about has those tests, but many products actually don't. You'd be surprised as it relates to the omega-3s and testing sometimes of what is marketed and testing that is done or not done in many instances. But the NHT Global Omega-3 stands apart in another area really of taste. And I know that there are other taste products, and I've touched on this quite a bit, but truly when you taste and chew the product, compare that to other ones in the marketplace. And we know from scientific study the number one reason people don't take omega-3s, why the term is compliant, why they are not compliant, is because of the taste. So you could have the world's best omega-3, but if it's fishy, people will not tolerate that for the long term. So in a nutshell, or I guess in a phrase or two, those are some key differences in the general marketplace.
Okay, thank you. The last question I got. A distributor is saying she has grade 4 arthritis in knee joint. So she's asking, how much do you recommend that she takes?
Sure, you bet. So we would recommend at a minimum that she take 4 to 6 soft gels per day. And what I would recommend is that she would start out, say, at 6 soft gels for the first 2 weeks. And then she would move to 4 soft gels for 60 days. And then would go on a maintenance of 2 soft gels per day. And so you'll notice that often what I try to do when we put together nutritional programs for people is that we try to have a higher concentration initially. We do that for a shorter period of time, and then we walk down the dosing to more of a maintenance. And that is helpful as it relates to overall, the economics and the sustainability of the product and for the individual long term, because it's more value driven in that regard. But we also want to give people results. We want people to see results with the product, and in some regards, increasing the dosage right away. Another alternative would say take 4 soft gels per day for the first 60 days and then transition to the 2 soft gels per day. But it would be between 4 to 6 soft gels per day for at least the first 60 days.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. It was really great product training, very helpful. So yeah, if you have other questions, you can send to support. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and it's been an honor and a privilege to spend time with you all on this webinar. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.